Good evening, good
Good
afternoon, good
evening.
morning, no matter where you are. Welcome to Buy Black for Life, Wednesday evening fireside chat. And boy, do I have an amazing guest for you this evening. Come in, come one, come all. If you're watching live, just tell us where you are. If you're watching via the replay, just do hashtag and the city that you are in. If you have any questions, please, by all means, share your questions. Buy Black for Life family, I have a guest with us. She joined us last year. Last year, what we did is for Poetry Month, we had poets actually share their poetry, and we had and this my next guest, she was part of that. She's been with us for a while. She's amazing at what she does, and I'm just gonna let her tell you who she is. Her name is Nako Kande. No, no, no. That's just her name. Don't try to be fresh. Nako Kande. Please tell the Buy Black for Life family and community who you are and what it is that you do, please.
Okay, first of all, I'm really honored to be here. So thanks for having me here. It's a real pleasure. My name is Nako Kendi, and as you can tell from my last name, I am not born American. My dad's family, Kendi, is a Manding name from the Guinea region,
Hmm.
and I was born in Ivory Coast. And I grew up in Europe and Ivory Coast and West Africa before coming to the States when I was 19. Didn't plan on staying, but I'm still here. So now I'm like officially a real African American. So I am a mother of four. I go by the title of stay home mom.
Okay.
But in the course of raising my children, I've had the pleasure of discovering myself.
Hmm.
I lost a lot of myself during the mothering process, but I also
Okay.
got to see a lot more of the things that I do very naturally and accepting most of my gifts. So now I go more, instead of going by housewife, now I go more by the title of author and poet, and I'm also a business owner. I created like a skincare brand when my kids were really little
Hmm.
to tackle things like eczema and dry skin. But
Hmm.
the funny thing is that everything that I do, from my vegan skincare to my writing to my poetry, everything is deeply connected for my identity as an African, but also as a candy. So
And
this
let's
is
talk,
in
let's
a
talk
nutshell.
about that. Let's delve deeper because um, one of the things that you are, and it's in your profile under your Instagram, is that you are a bilingual poet. Tell us what a bilingual poet is.
Well,
And I
I
have your
do.
Instagram up here. Share with us, bilingual poet. Yes,
Yeah, I grew up speaking French. And
okay.
the funny thing is, for a long time, I didn't do anything in public because I was really uncomfortable with my accent.
Hmm.
So I would go to parties and I'll meet people and I would just shake my head and not say much. And until somebody will say something that I really am passionate about, I will start speaking and people will go like, "She can talk." I'm like, yes, I can talk. And I have a friend who's a phenomenal poet. She's an amazing creative. And she reached out to me last year and she was like, "Hey, I want you to write some poem for me for an event that she had around Valentine's Day." So she had me write those pieces in French, and she was like, "I want you to perform them in French." And I'm like, "Yeah, but people are going to be American. They won't understand." And she's
Right.
like, "I just want you to perform them in French." And it was really like a beautiful stretch because every book that I've written, I incorporate French in all my books. So to finally come out and publicly hold a mic and have to perform in French, it was really like an amazing experience because then I was like, if you're not going to understand the word, that means I had to act the words.
Wow.
So the a little like, ooh, you know. And then turned out that it was my first experience like this, but I realized I'm comfortable with this. I'm enjoying it. It's a
Right.
way of connecting with people. It's a way of staying true to who I am. And it's just a way, an amazing way to be part of a community
Mhm.
and bridge my culture, my past with my present, really.
Got
So
you.
that's what I like about being a French speaking bilingual poet.
Okay. I, and you write about what is it that you well first of all, who inspired you in being the writer and poet that you are? Where'd that inspiration come from?
Oh, I have many amazing source of inspiration, but the biggest source of inspiration, the first time I had like the dream of being an author,
Mhm.
I have a friend of mine's dad had published that amazing book with folklore stories. And I still remember till yesterday, like holding that book in my hands. And I have that book somewhere on my shelf, still holding that book and being like, that's the dad of my friend.
Wow.
And then one day my dad had this book in his office, and it was a collection of books about African history that you don't read in books. Actually, it was
Mm.
a doctor who researched it, and turned out that I was related to him. So one night the offer came. It was late at night. I was supposed to be in bed, and my dad was like, "Oh, that's the guy who wrote the collection of books that you love so much." And for me to meet in person that man, that doctor, that researcher, that historian,
Right.
to have him in my house and to be like, oh my God, we related to this guy.
That's
It was
amazing.
like the most amazing feeling. And he always gave me like such a deep respect, not just for writing
Mhm.
and for books, but also for my sources and my culture. So that was probably the most memorable thing. But me coming to a point where I publicly start sharing my writing was a friend seeing a stack of my journals and asking me what's this. And when I explained, oh, I journal since I'm a little girl, I always journal. And he's like, you write every day? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you have you published anything? And I'm like, no. And he went like, that's selfish. And I'm like,
Wow.
that's selfish. And it really was hurtful.
Right.
And it was kind of like, I dare you to do something about
Right.
it. So
And
when
we
he
all need that in our life, don't we?
no, we don't. And it was like, if you have been writing all those years and you are so disciplined to writing every single day, you have things that people need to read and you have things that you have to share. You cannot keep this and go with it.
Yeah.
And that's really what triggered me to say, okay, I'm going to become a writer. And then I went through the process of researching and becoming a self author. And one book, every book is its own journey. So every time I write a new book, I'm back into that new journey and I find more about myself and I keep evolving.
Mhm.
So it's probably like the best thing about writing is the way I'm growing as I write.
Okay. So share with us your work. One of the and I put this actually in the chat, the um the self-love blessing,
The self love lesson.
poetry and artwork. Um
This,
what
this,
first of all, where were you? Because you said it's all about when you start writing, it's about your evolution. And I'm sure it's not only as a poet and a writer, but also your personal. So where were you when you created this work?
the self love blessing is probably like my most intimate poem and the most personal one. And the thing is, like, I'm a descendant of griot.
Okay.
So as a griot, poetry and history and music and culture and family, it's all one thing. It's all connected.
Yes.
So my uncle was a famous griot. Maury Kante passed away over a year ago. And when he passed away, like when you have a loss, when you lose like a family member, there's something in you that trigger that sense of identity where
Yeah.
you dig deep in who you are. It's
Yes.
like he cut something, but then he connects you to something else.
Mm, yes.
And it got to that point where like I had that deep cut, but then I have like that deep connection into like this is who I am. It's almost like cutting you wide open.
Right.
And then last last year I lost my dad, and I was going through a lot of personal things while losing my dad. So in the process of having all those pain, all those emotional wounds, all that confusion, one day I, in back in April of this year, I was going through something really hurtful.
Mhm.
And instead of reacting out of hate and anger, I went on a hike where there's a beautiful creek, and I was in the creek and I was crying my heart out in the creek, like I can't do this no more. I'm just like I am this. All those negative things came to
Mhm.
me. But water is so powerful as a cleansing, and nature is so powerful as a healer that in that place I had inspiration for the self-love blessing. And when I came up with the self-love blessing, what was really so special to me is that a lot of the time we use words, but we are careless with our words.
Right.
We are not mindful of the impact of our words. And as a griot,
Mhm.
I know that from a cultural standpoint, words are powerful for griot, because a griot will go to a wedding, a griot will go to the birth, a griot will go to a funeral, and the word that is speak to these events are going to give pride to the family. There are words of praise, there are words of connection, there are words of life, there are words of achievement. So he's
Yes.
speaking all this life to things to that person. So the self-love blessing was like being agreeable to me,
Mhm.
because after while we are all living this life and dealing with our issue, we hear so many things that we are programmed with so much negativity. So many
Yes.
people come to tell us we can do it. It can be people who mean us well. It can be people who say they love us, but in
Right.
their moment of anger, they will say words that you really cannot take back, even if they come and say, "I'm sorry for
I'm
what I
sorry.
said."
Yeah. Mhm.
So the self-love blessings are in the moment of your pain, in the moment of hearing somebody who love you say, "You are not good enough for me,"
Wow.
in the moment of hearing that I don't think that what I'm doing is valuable, you get to speak love and healing and value to yourself. And it's in 5 parts. I say, I bless my mind, I bless my feet, I bless my heart, I bless my hands, I bless my mouth, and they all have section. And one of the things that's significant to me is that I was raised a Muslim.
Okay.
And in Islam, I mean, I follow something else now, but in
Okay.
Islam, by tradition, there's a cleansing before every prayer. And you have to, we call it ablution. You have to wash your hands, you have to
Right.
wash your mouth, you have to wash your nose, you have to wash your face, you have to wash your head, you have to wash your ears, you have to wash your forearms, you have to wash your feet. And you do that 3 times. And now you do every single part 3 times.
Right.
There's something that you whisper as you do it.
Yes.
So the self-love blessing is a little like a symbolism of what I've learned culturally. And
Mhm.
it's still part of my identity as a Muslim. And I start the self-love blessing with, if you want a love potion, because we all want love.
Yes.
If you want a love potion and a loyal lover, drink first to love yourself.
Mm.
If you want a life that's full of passion, commit to your own health.
Wow.
And that's like, as a mother, we give, we give, we give, we give. And especially when you're a stay-home mom, I don't know the experience of working mom, so I'm not saying that one is better than the other.
Right.
But as the experience that I've had as a stay-home mom, the experience that I had as a woman living, raising kids in a culture that's not my own, in a city that's not my own,
Right.
without family members, without aunties, without grandma, without cousins, without friends, really isolated.
Mhm.
I went through so many stage of like being vulnerable mentally
Okay.
and emotionally.
Mhm.
So the self-love blessing is, if you want a life full of passion, first commit to your own health.
Yeah.
And I say I bless my mind. I
Mm.
start with the head.
Yes.
Je bénis mon esprit. I bless my mind with discernment and good judgment. I bless my mind with wisdom, peace, and clarity. I bless my mind to focus on the things that are my business to focus on.
Mm.
We don't always focus on what's our business to focus on.
So would that be similar to the things you can control?
Yes and no. It's similar. Yes, similar to the things we can control. Like at the end of the day, there's so much we cannot control anyway.
Absolutely.
But my business to focus on is like I've noticed that when we are failing somewhere, we have a tendency of focusing on what somebody else is doing
Someone
wrong,
else's stuff.
and
Yeah.
we're not focusing on what we did wrong that actually led to the action of somebody else doing wrong.
Yes.
So when you really focus on what's your business to focus on, my thing is you don't have time to gossip. You don't have time to try to fix somebody else. You can be helpful to people when they
Yes.
ask for help.
Right.
But it's really not your business to be talking about people. It's really not your business to be like, this is what I would have done if I was her.
Right.
Like, why don't you do what you're supposed to do while you're you? You know.
I have this thing where people will give their opinion of me or something I did, and when I respond to them, they will say, "Well, I was only given my opinion." So my response is always, "But I didn't ask you." People, we as human beings love to give our opinion when no one ever asked us for our opinion, and like you saying, mind your business, like take care of your business. So I definitely like that. Thank you.
So, place my mind to focus on what is my business, to focus on losing interest in the
Mm,
things that do not concern me. I
okay.
bless my mind to think on those things that are true, noble, right, pure, hospitable, admirable and lovely. Because we focus on things that are lies, we focus on things that are not lovely,
Yes.
things
Yes.
that will give me poise and
Mm,
serenity. I
right.
bless my mind with harmony. Because I've also learned that when we focus on all those negative things, we lose our peace.
We do.
We don't have any harmony. We don't have any serenity. We are focusing on all that chaos, all those lies, all that gossip, all those things that are not even our business.
Yeah.
And we are really losing our peace over it. And then when we lose our peace over it, it takes energy from having a sharp mind to do better with our own personal lives. So it goes on saying, I bless my feet. I bless my feet to be at the right place at the right time. I bless
Mm,
my feet to stand well and strong in time of adversities.
mm,
I bless my step to be divinely ordered.
wow.
I bless my feet to go places where I never even imagined going, places full of beauty. I bless my feet, je bénis mes pieds. I bless my feet with an enlarged territory where the ground where I step on is even holy. And this also come from my Muslim culture
Right.
because upbringing. Because when we go to the mosque to pray, we have to remove our shoes.
Okay.
And it's also biblical with Abraham when he had to remove his shoes when he was on the by the burning bush. Like I bless my feet with enlarged territory where the ground where I step on is even holy, places where favor is granted to me. And I bless my heart. This is probably like my favorite part, one of my two favorite parts. Je bénis mon cœur. I bless my heart to willingly forgive and let go.
Mm,
Willingly. Like you can be like,
willingly.
well, I'm willing to forgive, but I need help. But when you say that to God, to the divine, to whoever you pray for, and say, I am willing, I'm not, in my strength, I'm not capable of it.
Right. Right. Right.
But I have the willingness because I know better. And I know from experience that the harder it is, the more you have to be willing. And then I know from experience that when I have to look back and count my blessing, and count, look at my journey, there's like forgiveness, even when it's not easy, especially when it's not easy, it's
Yes.
like removing like this thing that's like stuck inside of you. Like
Right.
as long as you had this, it's still
It's
stinging.
freeing you.
So
Forgiveness
you're
is
like, you
freeing
know
you.
what? It hurts.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
something about it. So I bless my heart to willingly forgive. Not to say I do it easily,
Right.
but I will do it willingly. Forgive and let go. I bless my heart to forgive and to be forgiven.
Mm,
I am willing to forgive and bless those who have hurt me, consciously or unconsciously. May those I've ever wronged forgive me as well. I refuse to host more anger, grudges, bitterness. I let go of resentment and of petty disagreements.
mm.
I bless my heart. Je bénis mon cœur. I bless my heart with the ability to move forward, pressing on to better things and to better days. I bless my heart to know more love, more light, and more joy. Because once you forgive, you get to that place and then you reap the blessings of love. You reap the blessing of feeling lighter. You reap the blessing of joy. And I bless my hands. Je bénis
Yes.
mes mains. I bless my hands to be productive and fruitful. I refuse to be busy like a weed, growing wildly.
Mm.
I'm one woman. I don't like to be busy. I don't like to be overbooked. I don't like to do too much.
Yes.
I like to be intuitive in what I do. I would like to be intuitive in when I say yes. I don't like when I do so much that my body gets to a point where I cannot focus and I cannot give my best. Like if I do too much and I'm not giving my best, I feel like I'm like weed. I'm just like growing and going, but
Yeah.
like,
You're just
what's the
out there.
purpose in
Right.
here? Like,
Right.
what's the real impact I'm having in here?
Yes.
I refuse to be busy like weed growing wildly. I bless my hands to work purposefully. I don't like being busy. I bless my hands to do things well and with excellence. I bless my work to be done with good motives and to be
Mm.
impactful. And it's always something that I always ask myself when things come up, what's my motive to say yes to it? What's my motive to go to that place? What's my motive to involved with that project?
Right.
Is my motive to say, yes, I did it so I look good? Or is my motive that I really want to make an impact with the best way I can serve that person by saying yes to that project?
Got it.
And the last part is I bless my mouth. Je bénis ma bouche. And that's very special to me. I bless every cell, organs, and tissue of my body with great health and vitality. And I start with this because we have the tendency of cursing ourselves. We laugh at something and say, "Oh, this is what's so funny that I laugh to." People will say they laugh to death.
Right.
People will use so many negative. Oh, they laugh so much they almost died. And I'm like, "What are you saying?"
Why are we putting that out in the
I'm like,
universe?
"Why are you speaking this over you? Because it's your
Right.
mouth, you
Right.
know." And I bless every organ, cell, and tissue in my body with great health and vitality. I bless the abundance of my hands to be filled with good, so that my lips the abundance of my heart, sorry, to be filled good, so that my lips in every area of my life may overflow only with quality. I bless my mouth that my lips intuitively speak or be sealed when my words are never kind,
Mm.
not necessary.
Yes.
Because everything we say is not necessary. Like, I should never say something on this one. Like, what was the point?
Right.
Um, I bless my mouth so that my words may heal, may strengthen, and clothe myself and others with divine prosperity. And I say that because I believe that in the spirit realm, words have shape. And even when you say a word, we think of a shape. As soon
Right.
as somebody say a word, we have an image of
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So for me, in the spirit realm, word also has shape. So I bless my words that they may heal, strengthen, and clothe myself and others with divine prosperity. I bless my word to boomerang back to me at the right time in the right way.
Mm.
Even I call the effects manifestations of testimonies, claiming that only good things become a reality. Using my mouth as a rudder, I intend to cause some beautiful chain reactions with irreversible positive effects, sailing to green pastures and divine destinations. I bless my word to spark a big fire that will destroy the bad things, past, present, and future. Keep the wolves away, lighten our paths and our spirit. I bless my mouth. I now decree all things blessed. I receive all those blessings on the grace and the most perfect ways. This blessing I bless myself and you and others with, like a potion that will make us healthy, mind, body, and soul. I bless myself to love myself better so that I can love my neighbor better. I bless, I bless, I bless. I receive, I receive, I receive.
That's funny.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Love
you.
this. Love it. Love it. Love it. And it. So I'm on this journey also of um mental health. To be honest with you, because I'm unapologetic in speaking to the fact that um, 10 years ago, when my mom had passed away, I suffered deeply with depression and anxiety. And it sounds like I'm sitting here and I'm listening to your words and I'm thinking about one of the things that I started to do is meditation, and some of the words that you're saying in terms of um, the blessings and and how we should use our minds and where we want our minds, where we want our hands, how we want to use our mouths, our feet. It sounds like something that I would actually listen to in a meditative state. Um, how about you? I mean, I know you and I had talked about how important mental health is, and a lot of what you do is surrounding mental health. Um, Talk about mental health as being your work being a tool for mental health.
This is for I write poetry because it's healing. And the first time I wrote a poem was actually I was 13 years old. That was my first time to know the impact of poetry.
You wrote a poem, your first poem at 13.
My first poem was for at 13. I had the chance to be published that young.
Wow.
And I stepped back when I heard the publisher ask my mom, why are her poems so sad?
Mm,
And I didn't, when I heard that, I wasn't ready to release everything. Because that was the time, even at 13, when I realized that poetry is can be very vulnerable,
yeah,
is very vulnerable.
it is.
And the poem was written for, I lost a cousin at 13 years old by suicide.
Mm,
And that's how I wrote the poem, and I wrote it as if I was my aunt. So I took the place of my aunt in that poem. My aunt grieving for a daughter, my aunt losing a daughter, my aunt going in a room looking for a daughter.
wow.
And I wrote that poem as if I was a mother. And I was only 14 when I wrote this.
Right.
And the thing is that if by losing a cousin by suicide, at a young age,
Hmm.
by seeing the impact that my words had in my family when everybody was asking me for my poem. I grew up writing things and I grew up keeping things. But when I say that the self-love blessing is very dear to me, I wrote it at a time when I felt like I was losing my mind. I had lost my brother. I've lost family members that I didn't get to bury. People I haven't seen in ages. I lost my father, and I haven't seen my father since I'm 20 years old, since I was 20. And I'm in my 40s losing my dad when I've not seen him in over 20 years. And I'm thinking I'm my son, and I'm thinking that's the age I was the last time I saw my dad.
Right.
And then I have this battle and that rage, like really rage inside of me for all the things that kept me from having those moments that we never had and the moments we will never have. So the self-love blessing, when I wrote it, I was at a time when I had like reason to like lash out and curse out somebody specifically. And I had like reason to like I had so much pain and so
Right.
much rain and I was so wounded. And I remember when I wrote it and I shared it with a friend, she was like, "You're the only person I know who could turn so much rage instead of cursing that person out. You are over here writing a love poem like this."
Wow.
And I remember when I first read it to a friend, she's like, "Can I have a copy? Can I read it?" And she read it for a few days and she was sending me message of how she felt as she kept reading it.
Wow.
And every time I will share it with someone, I'll read it to someone. They'll be like, "Can I have a copy? I'm like, I wish I could listen to this." And
Yes.
the thing is that, like a lullaby, like soothe a baby,
Yes.
like we need a safety blanket. Those words became my safety blanket. Those
Mm,
words became my lullaby. Like I will sometimes like start my day and repeat this like 3 times or twice just to get my mind in a certain state. And I remember one day I repeated like I had recorded my voice to it
mhm.
and I played it like 3 times and I had a fabulous day. The most beautiful and amazing time in nature with my family, with strangers. The day was like magical, if I can
Right.
use that word.
Right.
And there were people I don't even know. They were just showing me so much love and so much. The day was just so magical. And I came
Yes.
home and I'm like, my day don't feel real. Those
Yeah.
hours that I had at that, I went at Okoee water rafting. I went
Okay.
paddle rafting, and I had such a fabulous experience with strangers that became like friends and family. With family that was
Nice.
a magical bond.
Right.
And I came home and I shared with a friend my day, and she's like, "You seems like you had like the most amazing day." And I was like, "What did I do to create that day?"
Mm.
And I realized that right before my family time, I made it a point to go on a walk around the neighborhood and just listen to this like a repeat like 3 times. And
Wow.
I realized that I have programmed myself. Some people would may say I like raise my vibrations.
No, but yeah, you set your mood. You set your
Like
mood.
I said things, and I was like, you know what? Because the poem ends with your humble lover,
Mm.
lover of self and of others, and l'amour guérit tout. Love heals all. So I that's how I end the poem, and I'm like, it's real. Even my eyes see it or not, it gives me experiences, it gives me days where, by some people's standards, my day may not be magical. But by my standard, dealing with mental health,
Yeah.
dealing with moments of, I may be like, I'm tired of this world. I want to give
Right.
up. I don't want
Right.
to live no more.
Right.
This is too hard.
Right.
Dealing with those emotions, because those emotions, they come at you out of nowhere. You
Yes.
can wake up today, feel great, and there may be like a sound, a smell, something, somebody with the shape of with the same walk as somebody you love, and be like,
Right.
God, that got me again.
Yes.
And it's powerful to me to have poetry as a tool to self heal myself.
Yes.
But I am the reason why I even agreed to have this conversation is because I want to use poetry or my words as a medicine, as a tool to be
Hmm.
like, I cannot, there may be so many things I cannot do for you.
Right.
But because of the pain that I know our body sucks to feel this way,
Right.
this is what I want to offer you.
Mm.
And this is why I accept the conversation, because I'm like, I want to serve. I cannot be everywhere, every places. But I want to serve. And if all the pain I went through, if being told some of the things I've been told that are still playing in my head, that still give me post-traumatic syndromes,
Right.
still dealing with those emotions that come, and be able to say, repeat those things and train and share them with someone and say, this have helped me. But it's a self-love blessing. So I'm not speaking it over you, even though me speaking over you is powerful,
Right.
but you can speak them over
Over
you, over
yourself.
yourself, and then
Yes.
you can shape it to the way that works for you.
So
So,
it sounds like so. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, "Hurt people hurt people,"
mhm,
but it sounds like you want to, and this has always been my philosophy, and also what I use this platform for. Healed people heal people,
mhm,
right? Because if we're healed, right, we want to share that healing to the universe.
mhm,
We want, because of, like you said, what we've experienced in our bodies and we've experienced in our heads. We want to be able to, once we've gotten that healing, and it could be while we're still on the road to our healing. And my dog doesn't know how to act. This is what she
so
does. We want to make sure that we heal as well, and that sounds like what you're doing.
it is, and this is that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, okay, if there's anything worthwhile in all of my pain, I serve, I cannot use it and serve you. Like, because obviously, and it's true, hurt people.
Yeah.
Because in my time of pain, I've had moments when my perspective was messed up. I had
Right.
moments when my reactions or my choices were messed up. That ended up causing more chaos. But the
Right.
thing is that I also can look back and say, okay, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of my ashes,
Right. Right.
this is beauty here. This is literally like beauty from my ashes,
You're the
and this
phoenix.
is
You've
what I
rose
want to
risen
do.
from the fire. Yes, I
Thank
love it.
you.
I love it. I love it. But and you have risen from the fire because you also, and I want to make sure I bring this up, and I'm going to share it in the chat. you have been nominated by the BEC, which is the Black Excellence of Chattanooga, for the second year in a row for an award for 2023 Best Literacy Arts. What does that mean to you? And I know you and I we talked about that first year what it meant to you, but now here we are in year two, and it's two awards in which you're nominated for. What does that mean to you? That I know we don't set out necessarily to do the work we do for awards, but when you get that validation with nominations, how does that feel? How did that make you feel?
It's really is a special feeling. The first time last year when it happened, that was like shortly after losing my dad. And I remember when I got the news, I was with my mom. And I was so tired from things I was already dealing with. So when I was sharing my brother the message I just had, because I got the message and I'm like, what's she talking about? What is this? So I told my brother, hey, I just got that message about this, such and such, such. And my mom heard the conversation as usual. And she's like, oh, what is that about? Oh, she started asking all the questions, started getting all excited. And like I
Right,
told you in the beginning, in my head, I'm just like a housewife.
right, right.
So my mom was like, people are recognizing you as an author. And I'm like, I don't know who know me. I'm just home. And she was so excited. And I remember her looking at me like, why am I more excited than you?
Yeah,
And I'm like, I'm just tired.
yeah,
So the first year, with all the things that I was going through, with all the pain, I was honored, I was shocked, but it was a beautiful, positive distraction
right.
in the sense that it gave me a sense of purpose. And it told me, oh, what I've been doing with my books and with the people that I was supporting
Mhm.
is is
It's amazing.
making it means something to them, because to
Yes.
me I wasn't doing anything. To me I was just a writer supporting all the friends doing amazing things.
Oh,
And so that gave me like a more sense of direction, more sense of purpose, which at this time when you go with grief, which I know you're familiar with, it's so
yes.
important. People say find something you're passionate about to put your energy into. So it kind of like directed me towards new people. Like I already have phenomenal people, but it gave me like it made things start making a little bit more sense.
Yes.
So this year I had not only the nomination as the best author, as one of the best author, but also best literary arts, which was something I would not have seen coming because I started poetry
Yeah.
only in February.
Wow.
So for me, and I've done like shows and theaters and stuff like this, poetry events in schools and things like this. I'm part of that organization called Rhyme and Chat. So
Okay.
it's based in Chattanooga, but it's poetry, and she's using like the present is really like putting poetry in place you don't expect to see poetry.
Right.
And every time throughout the year when she said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, in spite of my fear, in spite of my insecurities that I had with my accent, with my voice, with everything, with public speaking, I kept saying, yes, 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 yes. And the things that when I lost my dad, something that triggered me is that in the midst of my worst pain,
Mhm.
I realized that nothing was going to happen to me after losing my dad.
Wow.
Because when you have not seen your father for over 20 years,
Yeah.
the pain you go through, the lack of sleep, the dreams, the things you go through mentally, is not just like just losing your parents. It's losing so much more than just losing my dad.
Right.
So that was like the worst pain I could have imagined. That phone call that I kept dreading since I'm 19 years old, since I came to the US. I
Mhm.
kept dreading that phone call.
Right.
And when that phone call finally come and you realize there's nothing I
This
can do.
is it. Yes. Yeah.
And when my things that I was afraid of speaking to people, I was insecure about my accent. I was afraid of what people think of me. The worst thing that could happen to me already happened in
Mm.
August of last year.
Right.
So, by comparison to that, when I think of other challenges that life will definitely throw at me because that's life,
Right.
I look at this. I'm not saying break it on because I don't want them, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know what you think you can do to me right now because my worst pain, I'm living with it every single day.
Right.
And that gave me the courage to do poetry in public. That gave me the courage to pick up the mic. That gave me the courage to do all those things. So for me to go from the girl who have lost a dad, the sense of a part of a big part of my identity, a big part of my culture, my connector, to have lost this and have lived in Chattanooga for like over 15 years, no family,
Mhm.
no real family unit, no support system, no tribe, no
Right.
cousin, no uncle, no family or anything.
Right.
When you lose this and to get surrounded by people who they may not know where I come from, but they accepted my voice.
Amen.
They may not know where I come from, but they accepted whatever make me me. And when I got this and to be nominated as Best Literary Art, and I look at the list of people I was nominated with, and to me, that's the dopest thing because nominated as an author, I have no idea who the people on the list are. I'm like, oh, I don't know who that person is.
Right.
But those people on the list, and I blog about them, those people on the list, I admire those people. I love those people. I
Love
think
that.
highly of those people. If I'm
Yes.
dealing with something or I have a question, they're some of the first people on my mind. They're the
Right.
people I'm like, hey, I'm going for this.
Right.
Oh, I'll be praying for you. Like, and they'll be like, no matter what time it is, reach out. Even though I may not reach out, no matter what time it is, knowing that I have this. So to have this thing and to see my name on the list with this nomination is one of the most surreal feeling to me because I didn't look for it.
Right.
I was
Right.
just serving and growing and
Right.
saying yes to new opportunities. And
Yes.
actually, everything I say yes to was serving. A lot of them, they're like, "Can you do this with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." "Can you do this for me?" "Okay."
Yeah.
And from serving them, I grew so much in that process, and it gave me a sense of like something I haven't had since being an American.
Wow.
It's really, and for some people, people who have from here, they may be like, oh, just a nomination is not that important. For some people, they might be some other people may be like, well, there's a lot of other great people doing great things that did not get nominated. And I understand what everybody says.
I hope no one has ever said that to you.
And I'm like, some people think that way. Some people be like, well, there's a lot of other people doing great things that did not get nominated. Why? And I don't know why. I'm still asking, like, well, I don't know who nominated me, but I'm really
Right.
grateful for them.
Grateful. Yes.
I'm immensely grateful for them.
Yes.
And I got to realize one day I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was like, I don't think the nomination is really about who is so great at something. I think the nomination is really who's connected to the community why they're so great at something. Because my
Amen.
thing is, you may be great at something, but unless you are serving the community, when it's time to vote or throw your name somewhere, who's going to remember you if you
Impact.
were not there serving them?
Impact. It's all about impact,
Impact.
and you're making. And you know, one of the things you talk about, and you shared it with me, and I'd love to read it, where it says you call it your tribe, and it's it's basically when you I think you said when you found out you had gotten nominated that this was what it was about, and you wrote, when I was growing up, my man used to say pretty often, and you have to excuse me, I know this is French. I have no idea what I'm saying. Dis-moi, qui, santes. You say it because I'm embarrassing myself, and I never want to disrespect the language. What is that part?
Okay, my mom is French for mother, for
Okay, okay.
mom. And my mom used to also always say, always, dis-moi qui sont tes amis. Je te dirai qui tu es. Tell me who your friends are.
Mm,
Just tell me who your friends are, and I'll
wow.
tell you who you
Who
are.
you are. I love that. It was one of those sayings and lessons meant to define my teenage years, a lesson I'm revisiting in my adult life. Tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. It's easier to see the genius in this simple saying when striving for excellence in whatever you aim to accomplish. And I'm seeing it today. with a lot more clarity. What's making me reflect on my mom's adage is the fact that I have been nominated for the second year in a row as the BEC Awards Best Author, and that I have a second nomination, Best Literary Arts, that surprised me just as much as the first one did. BEC stands for Black Excellence of Chattanooga, of which that's you. And one of the very special people who has made it her mission to celebrate Black excellence in Chattanooga is Shay McCowan of the Chattanooga Business Elite. Last year, you were shocked by the first nomination because the news came to you weeks after you had lost your dad, and you weren't paying much attention to anything going on around you. Your dad passed away in August 2021, the same month you lost your brother just a few years prior in March
Mm-hmm.
2021. You published your first poetry collection on mental health and nature therapy, inspired by your own grief journey from losing your brother and some very close relatives. You were already dealing with so much when the loss of your dad came as the biggest mental battle you could ever face. And one thing that first nomination accomplished for you in 2021 was to help you realize that whatever good you were contributing to the community, it was not going unnoticed. And it's so very important that we do that. At a time when you felt lost, this somehow redirected you, giving you a renewed sense of purpose, which is a very powerful tool in coping with grief. Unless you have experience living in a foreign country for an extended period of time, it is hard to imagine how powerful it is to be accepted and welcomed by people in a place you didn't think could feel like home. Somehow, a nomination felt like being welcomed into a village or a tribe and being told you belong here too. It took that first one for you to undeniably find your tribe, and that's what is leading you to write vulnerably today. Tribes function with intentions and are on assignments even if the foundations of the assignment are unspoken. There are rhythms and patterns that make a tribe work, and the members are somehow kept in sync by the
Mm-hmm.
activities that define the tribe. For you, writing poetry, writing, poetry, arts, and serving your community became the engines that helped you through your grief while somehow positioning you in a tribe of kind and very brilliant people. The first BEC nomination that you received last year was like a consolation. To be recognized as best author at a time when you were dealing with your biggest emotional loss was God sent and redirected your attention. I know that you are honored to have been nominated again this year as best author. The second nomination as best literary arts is like an affirmation. To be affirmed as a member of a tribe made of people that you highly respect and admire is quite gratifying. Hence, the reason why you are reflecting on the value of quality friendships. And that's important to say that quality friendships. The people who are the BEC Literary Arts nominees are people who are part of your private life and who are also your public partners in creative shenanigans. I love that. When I read that, I was like, I love that. Create, and I'm going to ask you about the creative shenanigans. I love it. I love it. Since you are a woman obsessed with flowers, and that's one of the things I always know about you in your poetry. You always have a flower in your hair, and I love that. You decided that you would share a little about what they mean to you because you can't celebrate the two nominations you received this year without celebrating you. Not everyone could say the people in their private lives are also phenomenal, impactful people in the community. For simplicity, you could call them your sisters and brothers, but the truth is that they are your confidants, your teachers, your role models, your sharpeners, your prayer partners, your keepers. They can be very protective and so much more. It's obvious that you are not the only one who recognized them as amazing human beings. And then you go on to talk about each one. I think that was amazing. When I read it, I immediately, can I read this? Okay, can I read this? And I'm one of these people that I love to put a little something into what I'm reading. When you hear those words read back to you, what do you feel? What does it evoke out of you?
Oh wow, it's humbling. It's like I'm like seeing my emotions on my eyes for you, for the words, and to write is one thing. Like when we sit down and write, we put so much of the moment in it.
Yeah.
But to read the words again, especially for somebody else's different voice,
Yes.
I have to pay like a different attention to it,
Yeah.
because then I pick on maybe a word or two or more that may
Hmm.
have an impact on
Right.
you.
Right.
And I think it's one of the most beautiful things to, and one of those rare experience as a writer, to have somebody else read a word to you and have a little filter of their emotions,
Yeah.
because then you realize those words were not mine.
Yeah.
And then he proved even more what my friend was saying. You're not writing just for you. You're
For
not
you.
supposed to keep all this in your journal, because those
Yes.
stuff that I wrote about them, I journal about them.
Oh
And
wow.
I told one of them once, your name come a lot in my journal.
Wow.
One of them, I said,
Wow.
your name come a lot in my journal. And
Wow.
she's like, I hope it's good. She's like, I'm like, it's only good.
Yeah.
And that's also one thing. I really journal. It's not to say that I don't filter my negative emotions. I really journal negativity.
Mm.
Like I had that discipline, that practice, like on most days when I can manage to create that time, I write like 10 things I'm grateful for and
Hmm.
why.
Right.
So it's not just like grateful that the sky is blue. Why?
Right.
And by explaining the why, it actually make more of an impact in my brain to register why.
Okay.
And I do this most of the time. I try to do it in the morning, and some days in the beginning of the practice, or when life looks like it sucks, it's more challenging to write why you're grateful for 10 things. It's more challenging to write 10 things.
Yes. It is.
But the practice, the habit is like a muscles. And the day when I struggle the most to write them, I realize those are the day when I need the most to write them.
Gotcha.
And so for things that I said about all of them, those are people that they leave a certain feeling over me, or when I think of them, when I'm with them, when I reach out to them. And yeah, their name do come up a lot in my journal. And but it make me realize, like my friend said, yeah, that was selfish for me, because I'm journal about the thing, but then I blog about those things
Yeah.
today. And
Yeah.
by you saying that, are you reading them to me? I'm like, this is why I'm writing.
Yeah.
And it
Good.
means even more to me that you've
Yeah.
rewrite those words to me versus just mentioning, oh, that blog. And another thing that's special about our conversation is that I've been on the platform before when I've answered questions, and I have to ask myself, did that person even read the book? Like, what kind of question was this?
Yeah.
And I feel like the conversation will be a little too superficial.
Right.
And I really appreciate having the privilege to have the conversation that's deeper, especially one about people that mean so much to me.
Well, this platform means the world to me, right? And I am constantly, when you talk about your writing and hearing it being read, I know in some ways, like you said, the words you recognize the confirmation that you're getting. This platform to me, every day I'm getting confirmation of you're doing the right thing. You're doing the work because when I was blessed with this, and it started to grow the way that it did. I had an intentional mindset of I'm going to be extremely responsible and not make this about me. I'm not
Mhm.
going to do it. I'm going to make it about our people. I'm going
Mhm.
to make it about our community. And you, being you were the first one when I put out a call. You immediately, yes, how, and I remembered you being part of our poetry, and I was like, okay, great, this is amazing. So, um, you're being a part of this, a part of what I do, and a part of what we do, is so vital to. You're showing me that you're giving me confirmation as well that what it is that we, and I'm not just me, but we, my team as well, what we're doing is actually making those, because I talk about, when you drop a rock in the ocean and the waves that it makes. You're showing me, and you're confirming for me that we are doing that. So I appreciate it.
You're
As,
welcome.
as we get close to the end, I have a couple of things. So I put in the chat. We're able to vote for you.
Oh, thank you.
I put that in there. So my Buy Black for Life family, it's in the chat. Please, let's
Thank you.
vote. Listen, I want y'all to vote in voting, but we need to vote. This is one of our own. This is Buy Black for Life. She's one of our own. She's part of our community. Let's vote. And can I vote numerous times?
I think it depends of your emails.
Okay,
So you
I
track
got like
emails, I think.
I
So
got
I
like six emails, so I'm good. I have six emails. Work this. I have emails for days. Emails. So I'm good. But I want to make sure that it's in the chat. It's under BEC Awards voting. It's in the chat. Um, uh, Nanko's work is. I have to add more of the links for your work for our community to go in and certainly buy support you in purchasing your work. I will be one of these people that certainly do it. I love reading poetry. It just takes
thank
me
you.
to a place I don't even know if I could properly verbalize it, but it does. So I thank you for what you do. And
Thank you.
and I just have one question, the final question. But before I do, anything else that you would like to share that maybe you didn't, anything else that you would like to be able to talk about, that because I want to make sure that as you are here with this opportunity that you basically unload everything that you want people who are watching now and who will watch later on are left with.
One thing I want to share is that supporting my community is a big deal. The art is a big deal to me. I think like I know that I was exposed to art from my dad, and a very strange experience is that one day I was going through Wikipedia, reading something about some people who are not famous here in the States.
Right.
And I was going through Wikipedia and reading those things, and I couldn't finish it because the names that I was reading in that Wikipedia were people that were friends of my dad.
Oh wow.
And I'm reading those names and I'm reading the stuff, and I'm like, this person came home. I went to those people's show. My dad exposed me to that person
Right.
thing. And
Right.
then it was so funny because I realized I'm living what by being surrounded with so many phenomenal artists.
Right.
I'm like, I'm living what he planted in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the messages that if you work with young kids, teenagers, oh, I don't care for age. It can be somebody in a retirement home. It can be a young person. It can be a teenager, whatever the age. I want to share the fact that I always write from a culture and from a family and community standpoint.
I love that.
All my writing is to have some form of way to connect with, regardless of the age.
Right.
My poetry, my writing, my books. I'm exposing my culture. You're not just writing from a black author. You're writing from an African author.
Right.
You are not just reading from a woman, you are reading from a woman, a mother, a sister, a daughter. And I put a lot of those emotions in the things that I put in my writing. And I like to reach younger people because I had a poetry event in the school one day. those experiences that those girls shared were different from mine
Right.
because I didn't grow up here and I grew up in a two parents family.
Right.
But as I heard them, they were part of me who could relate to some of their rage because I had different battles, but I could still see. I was just listening to them, and I used my poetry was hidden. It was not something I shared.
Right.
But to be in the school and share with those girls, thinking at their age, I did not even have the courage to share
Wow.
what I was writing. And now I'm sharing to like 200 teenagers. I'm sharing things. And I remember one poem that I was sharing was like sort of an immigration poem called New Growth. And I was talking about how people have something a lot to say about things they don't even know about.
Wow.
And my thing is, I may not know about certain things, but I am human. And when I'm writing, I like to put my things, I'm vulnerable enough.
Yeah.
So I have like a cooking book, I have poetry books, I have a children book, but everything will expose you to a part of me. And the reason that I do this, I always tell myself, well, if I don't get to ever write anything, if I get to get out of this planet today or
Mhm.
tomorrow, those people will be able to read something and we have a connection with me.
Right.
Because a lot of time we read books, but if people are curious like me, I read a book and I like to know what was that author dealing with? What was
I,
he thinking?
I'm the same way. I'm
What
the
was he
s-
thinking? What
I'm
was
the
she
same
going
way.
through? So I like to write from that perspective. And the book I wrote the poem for, I just write the poem from is this one. It's Potion and Passions. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And all the drawings are mine. I illustrate the book with my own drawing.
Wow.
But the thing is, I stopped drawing when I was a teenager. And when I lost my dad, after losing my dad on November of last year, I told myself I write one poem a day. And then on December of last year, I told myself I do one drawing a day. And before I knew it, the one drawing a day and the one poem a day was turning into a collection. And I'm like, oh, I got a book. And my friend was like, you don't have to pay somebody anymore to do your
You could
illustration.
do it your own.
Illustration.
Yes.
And all my other books were with my own photographs. So this one is with my own artwork. So I want people to understand that I take pride in who I am. I have a high sense of identity,
Yes.
not ego, but serious pride in being African,
Yes.
serious gratitude in being American,
Yes.
immense gratitude of having immense love and humility of being to a place when I can say, Lord, for all the time when I felt like a nomad and lonely and so separated from where I come from, thank you that I finally found a place. And I finally found a voice and I finally found a tool like for poetry versus my other books to communicate. And then it's also make me more of who I am because Candy's a griot. And I'm like,
Well, you certainly have a platform in Buy
thank
Black for
you.
Life. You know all you have to do is reach out and we'll make it happen, whatever it is
Appreciate
that you
it.
need. I actually shared the poetry collection, Potions and Passions, Poetry and Artwork. I actually shared
Thank you.
that as well in the chat. Let's support, let's support, let's support. And I thank you for your presence. And I just have one last question, really quick. What does buying black mean to you?
Okay, buying black means to me, buying black is natural. I was born in Africa. My presents were black, my people were black, everything was black. I mean, yeah, we were colonized and we have
Right,
like, I went to an international school, so we have everything, every culture,
right.
but nationality. And I have friends literally like all over the world for what school I went to.
Love it.
But one thing that was so beautiful is that the people from the international school, the Lebanese people, and my mom is Lebanese, by the way. We had like a big Lebanese population. But the funny thing is that they talk black, they sound black, they act black. It's just their skin that's different,
Skin, yeah.
and they're still strong on their traditions. They have a strong sense of community and
Right,
of business, like the Lebanese do, like very great business people, black community people. So coming here and hearing when you started by Black, it was so cool because I'm like, well, I have a Lebanese family. So from that sense, they stick together. They're little like Jewish people. They stick together. They start the businesses. They buy, they own, they
Right.
support, they own. If
Right.
one person needs to start a business, they're like rooting
They'll
for that
support them.
person,
Right.
supporting that person.
Right.
And then the other thing is that they're in a black culture, serving black people, sounding black. When they talk, you have to take a double take. Like, your skin is white. Why you sound like this? No, because literally they'll talk in a way you will not be able to know that they
Wow.
have
Wow.
Lebanese skin. Because they
Okay.
will sound worse than black. They sound like local. And you're like, I don't even speak like this myself.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and so by black is refreshing to see this. And I have a friend, I mentioned her too in my blog, one of the person that I admire, she started something called Black Friday here in Chattanooga.
Okay.
So once a month, she has an event, and that's something that I'll also make sure that I'm part of and support. And when I'm not present physically, she knows that I am there for her too,
I love it.
because this is who I am. I value my community. I have a high sense of pride for
Right.
being black.
Yes. I love it.
And so supporting black makes sense, but I also believe in excellence. So for me, like, yeah, I buy black. That's a standard for me. But I also come like, I pray to God that when people see me or when I serve them, all they can see is that, okay, whatever she's going to do, it, she's going to give you the best she can.
Amen.
And I also go to people and support people with that expectation. So that's what buy
Thank
black is
you.
for me.
Thank you for that. I love it. I love it. My Buy Black for Life family, we went a little bit long, but as
Thank
you can
you.
see and you can hear, amazingness, black excellence personified. And let's vote so she can be Black Excellence confirmed in Chattanooga. And Nako, thank you for being a
Thank you.
part of this. Thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for this conversation. I walk away from it a little bit more evolved
Thank
and
you.
grown, and I cannot wait to dig into some of your work. And we could do this again over
Most
where,
definitely.
because of my curious mind, I'm gonna reach out and be like, yeah, let's can we talk about this? So I really thank you for taking the time with me. And if once again, if you're watching live, thank you for watching. If you're watching on replay, I thank you. And I will close by saying, for the love of our people, buy Black for Life. Thank you.
Bye.